Hey, welcome back to Evergreen Home Living. I'm so glad you're here today because what I'm about to share with you is something most gardeners never find out. And the ones who do, they never go back to buying seeds every single year again. Today we're talking about 12 ancient crops, not modern hybrids, not the fancy stuff you see in gardening magazines. I mean the real old school plants that people have been growing for hundreds and thousands of years. Plants that were so tough, so generous, and so reliable that they basically take care of themselves once you get them started. Here's my promise to you. By the time this video is over, you are going to know exactly which plants to put in your garden this season so that you never have to replant them again. You're going to know what they look like, where to get the seeds, how to cook them even if you've never touched them before, and how to make sure you never confuse them with something that could hurt you. We're covering everything. So stay with me, because the further we go into this list, the more surprising, and honestly, the more exciting it gets. Let's get into it. Crop number 1, Egyptian walking onion. Let's start with one of the most fun plants you will ever put in your garden. The Egyptian walking onion doesn't just grow, it actually walks across your garden all by itself. Here's how it works. Instead of making a regular flower at the top of the stalk, it grows a cluster of tiny little onion bulbs right up there in the air. Those bulbs get heavy, the stalk bends down, and those bulbs touch the ground and start growing a whole new plant. Then that plant does the same thing. Year after year, they just keep moving and spreading on their own. You plant it once, that's it. From that point on, your garden will always have onions, tender green tops for salads, the small aerial bulbs for pickling, and the main bulbs in the ground for cooking. Watch out for lookalikes. The Egyptian walking onion smells like onion when you crush a leaf. That's your number one test. If you crush a leaf and it doesn't smell like onion, put it down and don't eat it. Toxic plants like death commas look a little similar but have zero onion smell. Always do the smell test. Lazy recipe. Chop the green tops like chives and toss them over scrambled eggs with a little butter and salt. Done in 30 seconds. Incredible flavor. Where to find seeds? Check Strictly Medicinal Seeds, Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, or Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. Search Egyptian walking onion, and you'll find them easily. Crop number 2, Sunchoke, Jerusalem artichoke. This one is a promise I need you to hold me to. I'm telling you right now, once you plant sunchokes, you will never be able to get rid of them even if you try. That sounds like a warning, but it's actually the best news a lazy gardener can hear. Sunchokes are tall, sunflower-like plants that grow knobby little tubers underground. You harvest some tubers in the fall. You miss a few, because you always miss a few. And those leftovers sprout again next spring without you doing a single thing. They're basically permanent members of your garden family now. These tubers taste like a cross between a potato and a water chestnut. Slightly sweet, very satisfying. Watch out for lookalikes. The tops look like wild sunflowers. The real trick is to know what's underground. Sunchoke tubers are knobby and irregular, light tan or purple tinged. If you're ever unsure, just check that the plant is growing where you planted it. Wild sunflowers don't have these large edible tubers below. Lazy recipe. Scrub the tubers, no peeling needed. Slice them thin, toss in olive oil and salt, and roast at 400 degrees for 25 minutes until they're golden and crispy. They taste like potato chips, but better. Where to find tubers? Strictly Medicinal Seeds and Southern Exposure Seed Exchange carry them. You can also often find them at local farmers markets in autumn. Crop number 3, sorrel. Sorrel is one of those plants that comes back every single spring before you've even started thinking about your garden. It's a perennial herb with bright, lemon-tangy leaves, and once it's established, it grows faster than you can harvest it. Ancient Romans grew sorrel. Medieval farmers kept it in their kitchen gardens as a reliable food source through the hungry early spring months when almost nothing else was ready to eat. That's how good this plant is. Watch out for lookalikes. Some newer gardeners confuse garden sorrel with dock, which is also edible but much more bitter. True garden sorrel has a strong, bright sour taste when you pinch a tiny piece and taste it. Dock leaves are much larger and more oval. Neither is dangerous, but knowing the difference keeps your salads tasting right. Lazy recipe. Blend a handful of fresh sorrel leaves with a cup of plain yogurt, a clove of garlic, a pinch of salt, and a squeeze of lemon. You just made sorrel dip. Serve it with crackers or bread. It tastes like something from a fancy restaurant. Where to find seeds? Baker Creek Heirloom, Seeds and Territorial Seed Company both carry French sorrel, which is the most popular variety for home gardens. Crop number 4, Lovage Stay With Me Here, because this one is a secret weapon that almost no modern gardener talks about anymore. And that's a real shame. Lovage is a giant perennial herb that tastes exactly like celery, but you only plant it one time and it comes back every year for the rest of your life. And I do mean giant. It can grow 6 feet tall or more. Every single part of it is edible. The leaves, the stems, the roots, and the seeds. It's like having a celery factory in your backyard that you never have to replant. Medieval Europeans used lovage as both food and medicine. It was so important that monks grew it in their monastery gardens as a staple crop. Watch out for lookalikes. This is an important one. Lovage belongs to the carrot family, and some plants in this family are toxic, especially poison hemlock and water hemlock. Here's how you tell them apart. Lovage has thick, hollow stems and smells powerfully of celery when you crush the leaves. Poison hemlock has purple-spotted stems and a musty, unpleasant smell, not a food smell at all. Never harvest from a plant in this family unless you are completely confident in your identification. Lazy recipe. Pull off 2 or 3 lovage leaves, chop them roughly, and throw them into any soup or stew you're making. They add a deep celery flavor that makes canned or simple soups taste homemade and rich. Where to find seeds? Strictly medicinal seeds and horizon herbs are your best bets for lovage. Crop number 5, lamb's quarters. Now here's one that's probably already growing in your garden, and you've been pulling it out as a weed. I want you to stop doing that immediately. Lamb's quarters is one of the most nutritious leafy greens on the planet. It has more calcium than kale, more protein than spinach, and it grows absolutely everywhere with zero effort from you. It's been eaten by humans for over 10,000 years. Watch out for lookalikes. This is very important. Many viewers have asked about the confusion between lamb's quarters and lamb's ear. Let me be very clear. Lamb's ear is a soft, fuzzy, silvery gray plant used as a garden ornamental. Lamb's quarters is a different plant entirely. It's green with a whitish, dusty coating on the young leaves, like someone sprinkled flour on them, and the leaves are diamond-shaped with small teeth along the edges. Lamb's ear is not toxic, but it is not particularly good to eat either. Lamb's quarters is your edible one. Look for the dusty coating on the leaves. That's your confirmation. No other common garden plant looks quite like that. Lazy recipe. Sauté a big handful of lamb's quarters in butter with garlic for 3 minutes until wilted. Add a squeeze of lemon. Serve it as a side dish. It tastes like spinach, but richer and earthier. Where to find seeds? Baker Creek Heirloom. Seeds carries it, but honestly, let one plant go to seed in your garden, and you will never need to buy it again. Crop number 6. Groundnut, Apios americana. I told you this list was going to get more surprising the further we went, and here we are. The groundnut is a climbing vine native to North America that produces edible tubers underground and edible beans in pods. 2 crops from one plant, and it comes back every single year. Native American communities depended on this plant for thousands of years. Early European settlers survived their first winters partly because of groundnuts. This is not an exaggeration. This is history. The tubers taste like a starchy, slightly nutty potato, perfectly satisfying. Watch out for lookalikes. Groundnut vines have clusters of small pinkish-purple flowers that smell faintly sweet. The leaves are arranged in an alternating pattern of 5 to 7 leaflets along the stem. The main thing to know is that true groundnut always has those distinctive flower clusters in late summer. If you're ever unsure, wait for flowering season to confirm your identification before harvesting tubers. Lazy recipe. Boil the tubers for 15 minutes until soft, then mash them with butter, salt, and a little cream. Groundnut mash. Simple, ancient, and delicious. Where to find tubers? Edible Landscaping Nursery and some listings on the Seed Savers Exchange are your best sources. Search Apios americana for the most results. Crop number 7. Good King Henry. Good King Henry is a perennial green that was a staple vegetable across Europe for centuries before spinach took over and pushed it into obscurity. That's a tragedy, and today we're undoing it. It grows back every spring from the same rootstock, produces tender young leaves that you can eat like spinach, and even sends up flowering shoots in spring that you cook like asparagus. One plant, 2 different foods, 0 replanting. The flavor is mild and earthy, far less bitter than many wild greens, which makes it one of the most approachable plants on this entire list. Watch out for lookalikes. Good King Henry looks similar to lamb's quarters, which we already discussed. Both have that dusty coating on young leaves. Good King Henry is distinguished by its arrow-shaped or spear-shaped leaves and its upright, sturdy growth habit. Good news, both plants are edible, so even if you mix them up, you're going to be okay. You're just going to have a slightly different salad than planned. Lazy recipe. Steam the young leaves for 3 minutes, drain them well, and drizzle with olive oil and a tiny pinch of nutmeg. It's a classic preparation that makes the earthy flavor shine. Where to find seeds. Strictly medicinal seeds and Baker Creek heirloom seeds both carry Good King Henry. Crop number 8, perennial kale, Dobbinton's kale. Imagine a kale plant that you never ever have to replant. A kale plant that just keeps growing year after year, getting bigger and more productive every season. That is Dobbinton's kale, and it is exactly as wonderful as it sounds. This variety of kale doesn't flower and set seed the way regular kale does. It just keeps putting out new leaves and new shoots endlessly. You propagate it by taking cuttings and simply poking them into moist soil, where they root effortlessly. Within a few weeks, you have a new plant. Share it with your neighbors, line your whole garden path with it. Give cuttings to everyone you know. Watch out for lookalikes. Kale is very distinctive with its large, crinkled, or flat leaves with a distinctive brassica shape. The most important thing to know is that kale leaves always have a strong, slightly bitter brassica smell when crushed. No dangerous lookalikes exist for established kale plants. This is one of the safest crops on our list to identify. Lazy recipe. Tear the leaves into pieces. Massage them for 2 minutes with olive oil and salt until they soften slightly. Squeeze in half a lemon and add a handful of dried cranberries. Instant kale salad. The massage step removes the bitterness completely. This is the trick that changes everything for people who think they don't like kale. Where to find cuttings. Strictly medicinal seeds and the Seed Savers Exchange Network are excellent starting points. Once you have one plant, you will never need to buy again. Crop number 9. Ramps, wild leeks. Ramps are one of the most sought-after spring foods in North America right now. Fancy restaurants charge a fortune for them. Foragers hike deep into forests to find wild patches. But here's what most people don't know. You can grow ramps right in your own backyard, and once you do, they slowly spread into a permanent, self-sustaining patch. They come up every spring with broad, smooth leaves and a smell that is somewhere between garlic and onion, deeply savory and rich. They're among the very first edible plants to emerge each spring, which makes them incredibly valuable when your garden is otherwise still sleeping. Watch out for lookalikes. This is critical. Wild ramps have one very dangerous lookalike called lily of the valley, which is toxic. Here is exactly how to tell them apart. Ramps smell powerfully of garlic and onion when you gently crush or tear a leaf. Lily of the valley has absolutely no garlic or onion smell whatsoever. Additionally, ramp leaves are smooth and light to medium green, while lily of the valley often has leaves that emerge in pairs from a single stem and has a more waxy texture. Always, always do the smell test before eating any wild leek. The smell test is non-negotiable. Lazy recipe. Chop ramp leaves and bulbs and sauté them in butter over medium heat for 4 minutes. Scramble in 2 eggs. Ramp eggs. This is one of the greatest simple breakfasts in the world. Where to find bulbs. Strictly medicinal seeds and edible landscaping nurseries sell ramp bulbs for planting. Never overharvest wild patches. Always purchase cultivated bulbs for your garden. Crop number 10. Tree collards. We are getting into the really exciting territory now, and I need you to pay close attention to this one because tree collards might just be the most productive perennial vegetable on this entire list. Tree collards are a variety of collard greens that grow into enormous woody-stemmed plants that can live for 15 to 20 years and reach heights of 6 to 10 feet or more. They produce leaves 12 months of the year in mild climates and require almost no care once established. You take cuttings to propagate new plants, and those cuttings root easily. The leaves are mild, tender, and delicious. None of the toughness or bitterness that people sometimes associate with regular collards. These plants have been quietly passed between California gardening communities for decades, hand to hand, cutting to cutting. They're an underground legend, and today we're bringing them into the light. Watch out for lookalikes. Tree collards are unmistakable once you know them. They grow tall and woody with large, blue-green or purple-tinged leaves depending on the variety. The purple variety is particularly stunning and very cold hardy. No dangerous lookalike exists for established tree collards. Lazy recipe. Strip the leaves off the tough central stem, chop them roughly, and add them directly to any pot of beans or soup in the last 15 minutes of cooking. Tree collard leaves soften beautifully and add a mild, slightly sweet green flavor that makes simple bean soup taste like it cooked all day. Where to find cuttings? The Experimental Farm Network and various community seed libraries carry tree collard cuttings. Search for purple tree collard or walking stick kale. These are sometimes used as alternate names. Crop number 11. Ostrich fern fiddleheads. Every spring, for just a few precious weeks, this ancient plant sends up tightly coiled shoots called fiddleheads, and they taste like a combination of asparagus, artichoke, and fresh green beans. They are genuinely one of the greatest seasonal foods in the world, and once you plant ostrich ferns, they spread slowly and steadily into a beautiful, lush colony that produces fiddleheads for you every single spring forever. Indigenous communities across North America have harvested fiddleheads for thousands of years. The plants are completely winter hardy, require no care once established, and actually prefer a moist, slightly shady spot where most vegetables would fail. They turn a problem area of your yard into a food source. Watch out for lookalikes. Very important. Not all fiddleheads are safe to eat. Only ostrich fern fiddleheads are widely considered safe for consumption. You identify ostrich fern fiddleheads by 3 features. First, they have a distinctive U-shaped groove on the inside of the stem, like a celery stalk turned upside down. Second, the papery brown scales that cover the emerging fiddlehead are loose and brush off easily. Third, ostrich fern fiddleheads are smooth and deep green. Avoid fiddleheads that are fuzzy or hairy. When in doubt, don't harvest until you have confirmed your identification with multiple sources. Lazy recipe. Rinse the fiddleheads thoroughly, blanch them in boiling water for 2 minutes, drain, and toss immediately in butter with garlic and salt. That's it. Don't overthink it. Fiddleheads this fresh need almost nothing. Where to find plants? Strictly medicinal seeds and native plant nurseries in your region are your best sources. Search Matteuccia struthiopteris for the botanical name to find specialist listings. Crop number 12. Mashua, Tropaeolum tuberosum. We saved something truly special for last. Mashua is an ancient Andean root crop that has been cultivated in South America for over 8,000 years. It's related to nasturtium, those cheerful orange and yellow flowers you might have in your garden. But instead of just pretty blooms, Mashua produces big, edible tubers underground while simultaneously covering itself with beautiful flowers that are also edible. Inca farmers revered Mashua. It grows at high altitudes where almost nothing else will. It resists almost all pests. The spicy compounds in the plant repel insects naturally, and it produces abundantly with minimal care. In mild climates, it behaves like a perennial. In colder climates, you dig and store the tubers over winter. But those same tubers replant themselves the following spring. The tubers have a peppery, slightly earthy flavor when raw that mellows into something sweet and starchy when roasted. The flowers taste like mildly spicy nasturtiums. Watch out for lookalikes. Mashua vines are distinctive with their round, shield-shaped leaves and bright orange, yellow, or red nasturtium-type flowers. No dangerous lookalikes exist for cultivated Mashua in a home garden setting. Lazy recipe. Roast the whole tubers at 375 degrees for 40 minutes until the skins are slightly caramelized. Split them open, add butter and a little honey. The roasting transforms the peppery flavor completely into something almost sweet and deeply satisfying. This is how Andean communities have been eating them for thousands of years. Where to find tubers? The Experimental Farm Network and Cultivariable, a specialty Andean crop company, are your best sources for Mashua. This one is worth searching for. It will genuinely surprise you. Before you go, a few final promises I need to keep. I told you at the beginning that by the end of this video you'd know everything you needed, so let me wrap this up by keeping every one of those promises. You now have 12 plants that you plant once and harvest from forever. Egyptian walking onion, sunchoke, sorrel, lovage, lamb's quarters, groundnut, good King Henry, perennial kale, ramps, tree collards, ostrich fern, and Mashua. Each one of these has been feeding human beings for hundreds or thousands of years. They were never meant to be forgotten. And now you have them back. For seeds and plants, your three most reliable starting points are Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, Strictly Medicinal Seeds, and Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. For specialty Andean crops like Mashua, go to Cultivariable. For native plants like ramps and fiddleheads, check Edible Landscaping Nursery and the Experimental Farm Network. These are real companies run by real people who care deeply about preserving these ancient varieties. For identification, especially with ramps, Lovage family plants, and fiddleheads, please take time to verify with multiple sources before you eat something from the wild. The smell test saves lives with allium family plants. Always crush a leaf first. And for the people who tried some of these plants before and found them too bitter or too strange, those lazy recipes we went through are your gateway. Massage the kale, roast the Mashua, blanch the fiddleheads, sauté the ramps in butter. Cooking transforms these ancient plants from unfamiliar to completely irresistible. Your garden can feed you forever. It really can. These 12 plants are your starting point, and every single one of them will be there next spring without you lifting a single finger to replant them. That's the promise of the ancient garden, and now it belongs to you. Thank you so much for spending this time with EverGreen Home Living. If this video helped you, share it with someone who's tired of buying seeds every year, and drop in the comments. Which of these 12 are you starting with? I want to know. See you in the next one. EverGreen Home Living, growing food that grows itself.